Well, hello, East Hill. My name is Ryan. I'm one of the pastors here at East Hill, and I have the honor of taking a few minutes to interview an amazing man of God, Alan Hotchkiss, who is a part of Africa New Life. And I think the best place to start is, Alan, tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm Alan Hotchkiss. I'm the executive director for Africa New Life Ministries. I'm actually a member of East Hill, and my family, my wife Lisa, and our two girls have been part of the congregation for about 5 years now. But Africa New Life is in Rwanda, Africa. We served there about 10,000 students that we're helping to get through high school who otherwise wouldn't have made it out of 7th grade, and then about 600 more who are in college and are moving toward becoming leaders in their nation.
That's amazing. What started you on the journey of being a part of Africa New Life? What made you move towards this as your heart?
I had been involved in ministry on a number of levels in the U.S. for a long time, and had a heart for the poor, but just here in the U.S. And one day somebody invited me to come and visit Rwanda, Africa, with them and see Africa New Life for myself. They actually invited me to be on the board of the ministry, and I thought I should go see it ultimately. And so I'd never been to a developing country. I mean, I'd been to most every continent except for Antarctica, I think, doing ministry, but I'd never been and actually been with the poor. And so I went to Rwanda with my friends, and we had sponsored a child with African Life ahead of time. And so I went, and I remember going to meet this little girl. Her name was Yvonne. Went into her home, and we sat down, on a couple of benches in this stark situation, and found out her dad made $60 a month. And I realized, man, the $35 a month at the time, or $39 that we were paying to help her go to school was real. It was really making a difference in her life. And I mean, I'd grown up knowing about the big sponsorship organization, but I'd never been close to one. And so it just caused me to realize, well, I want to make a difference. And so I came home, joined the board, and ultimately the ministry was small. As it began to grow, I left the ministry position I was in 2008 and took the leadership in the U.S. of African Life.
That's a great story, man. It's a beautiful story. And, in the interactions that you and I have had just as a part of East Hill, I know that this isn't a job for you. This is a ministry birthing out of you. What do you think keeps you going? You've had the same ministry job since 2008. It's now 2020. That's 12 years if my math is any good.
Yeah.
What keeps you energized towards this mission? What keeps birthing this out of you?
Well, I think first of all, Jesus Christ ultimately calls us to serve him. And for me, I remember on that first trip I came home, and I'm on this long flight. You've been on them, Ryan, coming home from Africa, and you're kind of delirious and just seeking God. And I remember the Holy Spirit really led me to Matthew 11, 2-5. And that's where John the Baptist is in prison, and he is, facing his death, and he's really questioning, after he's given his entire life to serve Jesus and advocate for him, and here he's going to be killed by Herod, and he knows it. And so he sends a messenger to Jesus to ask Jesus if Jesus is really who he thought he was. Is he really the Messiah? And Jesus' answer is telling, and I think it is a picture of African New Life in the sense that Jesus said, go back and tell John, to the messenger, what you see and hear. The blind see, the lame walk, the dead are raised, the deaf hear, the lepers are healed, and the good news is preached to the poor. So for me, I feel like being involved with African New Life captures who Jesus is perfectly. And all I want to do with my life is serve him. And so in that sense, I get to do that with the ministry, because it's both proclamation, sharing the good news, and compassion, seeing lives transform. And so that drives me. And then in the big picture of what it looks like, I mean, ultimately I've been in it for 14 years now. And here's the cool thing. We sponsor kids when they're in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. And I can tell you now, I can go anywhere in the country, because we've been at this, longer than me, for about 20 years, anywhere in the country, in any sector in the nation of Rwanda, business sector. And I meet kids who were in our sponsorship program who if they hadn't been sponsored, they'd be working in a field making $1 a day, but instead they're working in a restaurant, or they're the officer checking your passport when you come into the country, or they have a small business doing construction, or they're a pastor. So what keeps me going is, man, a whole generation, an army of God has been created, and they're coming from a place where they have an insight into what their peers at that level need. That is incredible.
That's beautiful. We're interviewing you because we're going to be doing the Heart for the Mission offering, and one of the greatest tragedies of our generation is that some people, they're invisible, right? And their cries go unheard. And our vision for the Heart for the Mission offering is that by addressing people's practical needs locally and globally, that they'll experience the love of God and know that they're seen. How will someone's offering in this go to benefit that global missional, letting people know that they're seen? Where will their money go? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, well, just in general, 84% of everything that we take in any program is spent directly on that program. It's spent on ministry directly. So there's some overhead cost, obviously, but we want to make sure, first of all, that all the money is spent well, and we have great accountability for that. But in terms of specifically here, we have a couple of specific needs that we're going to apply these funds to. One of them is because of COVID-19, the sponsored students that we work with, they have parents, and their parents generally, they haven't got an education. That's why the kids have to be sponsored. Their parents generally make about $1 to $3 a day, and they work in jobs like they work in fields. They'll work for somebody who owns a field in agriculture, or they'll work on a job site, a construction job site. Well, because of COVID, a lot of those jobs, the majority of them, were eliminated. And in Rwanda, there's no unemployment. There's no stimulus. There's no safety net. The Church of Jesus Christ is the safety net. So in this situation, what we're going to apply any funds we get to specifically is for those families who don't have a safety net, they just need to have food to eat. And so anything that East Hill gives us, anything that comes from any of you as you're watching and thinking about this, we're going to use it. Costs us about 83 cents to provide one meal. And so we're going to take that 83-cent number and multiply it however much comes in, and we're going to feed as many people as we possibly can.
That's incredible. Thank you, Alan, for your heart, your mission, and how you streamline that as an opportunity for us to be an impact to people that are outside of our normal reach. Like for me, the idea of benefiting somebody that's all the way over in Rwanda seems almost impossible. But because of your heart and because of the ministry that you run, you give us that opportunity. I didn't warn you about this next question, Alan, so sorry. But let's say beyond, I know you're ready. That's what I love about you. I know we have this Heart for the Mission offering, but maybe this is stirring something inside of somebody to not just give an offering as a one-time reality. Can you tell us a bit about how someone can partner with your ministry in kind of a more long-term way and what that looks like?
Yeah, there's many ways, but at a basic essential level, there's two ways I think you could get involved. One of them would be you could partner with us monthly for food. You could give $25 a month or $50 a month. You could do that, and we'll give you periodic reports about that. But here's what I would say. If you're listening to this, I would just say, if there's one thing I would invite you to do, it'd be to sponsor a child. It'd be to come alongside of us. And I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of information about how you can get to our website, but it'd be to choose one of our students in Rwanda and actually partner with them. And what that looks like is that, these are kids, again, who haven't had a chance they aren't going to get beyond 7th grade without sponsorship for their education. And so you come alongside them, and for $39 a month, you can actually partner with them and with us to help them get through high school and then probably through college as well. And in the midst of that, you're going to get a chance to have letters back and forth. So especially, I'd say, if you're a family and you've got kids, this is a great way with your kids to help your kids begin to get the idea of maybe they got family that are sponsored with you in Rwanda. We did that as a family. We sponsored 4 kids, I think, when our kids were little, and it was so great. We would pray for those kids with our kids when we said our prayers at night, and it was just a powerful lesson that was able to really help my kids understand the globe in a way that they couldn't otherwise.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And I know it stirs in me every time I hear you guys speak about it, just of the impact and the reach that we could have in communities that have a great need. And I think it's so important for us in our Western culture and American world to remember that there are people that don't have a meal, and that there are people who don't have the option to run over and grab something cheap from a dollar menu. That's not where they're at. And instead they're looking for help, and we can be that help, whether through the Heart of the Mission offering and then also through a sponsorship. Through the magic of video editing, I'll just go ahead and throw that information on the lower part of our screen. But I want to invite anybody watching just to pray about that and to see if that's called for them. Alan, thanks for taking just a few minutes and just bringing us the heart. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with everybody?
Yeah, I think somebody said it's hard to hear the gospel on an empty stomach. When you're really hungry and you have actual hunger pain, we think about hunger pain and it's like, it's 11:30 and we haven't made it to McDonald's, right? But I mean, literally these kids that we're talking about who we're going to be able to provide these meals for, they might not have eaten for a couple of days. So there's real hunger pain. And in that situation, when you help a child to get a meal and then you say, listen, Jesus Christ gave you this meal. This is from him to you, and we love you, and the reason we're giving it to you is because Jesus loves you and we're serving him. That's not manipulation. That's the gospel. That's what we're doing. And then you give them a meal, they come to Christ, they get a sponsorship, they grow up, and man, let me tell you, they're powerful for Christ because they don't forget. So that's what I would say. And just also, man, we are so grateful as a family to be at East Hill. And so it's fun for me. There's accountability here. The reality is, like, we're not going anywhere. Once church opens back up, we're there, and you can come and ask me questions about your kid personally, and I'll find an answer. So there you go.
Wow. That's amazing. As you're speaking there at the end, it just reminds me of, our call for this year, the call that the leadership team got in November of last year. And that is that we are a sent body. And it's amazing how 2020 has reminded us of that call in so many more ways than we were anticipating. But what a beautiful example of it just in Africa New Life, of remembering that we are sent. And sometimes it doesn't mean physically sent. Sometimes that means we're sending what we cherish, our money, our income, to go and impact the world.
Yeah.
That gospel message.
I mean, the other thing is, it may not be appropriate here, but I would say, eventually we're going to bring teams, God willing. So we'd love to have people come and see and join us. We're a little ways away from that because of COVID, but we take about 500 people a year to Rwanda to meet their sponsored kids in person. And so that's something that down the road, as we move forward, we'll see how this all goes. But that's really, that's in the future. People can come with us, and it's safe. It's actually the 5th safest country on the planet. For one, it's safer than, I think, downtown Portland right now. So once COVID passes, come with us. You, Ryan, in particular, gotta come.
I've not been to Rwanda. I've been to Nigeria and South Africa. Maybe that's next on my list.
Yeah, you and your mom and dad. Your dad and your stepmom. Well, we gotta see how that goes, right? But that we've talked about that.
We'll figure out a way to make it happen. Sounds like a good idea to me. So
that's right. All right,
awesome.
Man.
All right, thanks, Alan. We appreciate you, and God bless you. And thanks, man.